Would you believe me if I told you that deep down in your ancestral line, many thousands of years ago, you had a Neanderthal for a grandparent? And that the shape of your skull could literally be determined by this Neanderthal grandparent? As you can see from this diagram over here, there are a whole bunch of things that we could find on your skull right now that would be able to show us just how much Neanderthal DNA is affecting your skull today. So, let's go through them today one by one and figure out just how much your skull is being determined by your Neanderthal heritage. This happened as our species, which has been around for approximately 300,000 years, encountered our older cousin after leaving Africa into the Middle East around 50,000 years ago, where we interbred with them. This then created the first generation of half sapiens, half Neanderthal humans for the first time in Earth's history. Many thousands of years later, you are here, alive today, the descendants of Neanderthals. But how much of their DNA has stuck around in your genetic profile? If you'd like to find out the exact percentage of your own Neanderthal DNA, allow me to introduce our sponsor for today. Tell me, Jen. Wondering how much Neanderthal DNA you have? Tell Me Jen has generously decided to give my viewers a 10% discount on their DNA tests. This is one of the few DNA tests that shows the amount of Neanderthal DNA you have. Being one of the most comprehensive DNA tests out there, they also offer tons of super interesting info relating to your genetic code and can tell you about your paternal and maternal haplogroups, as well as health, pharmacological, and nutritional information unique to your DNA. Click the link below and use my coupon Archives of ECNI to get your 10% discount. Anyway, without further ado, let's get back to the video. What happened to Homo sapiens skulls after mixing with Neanderthals was quite a significant change, and we still see it today in our skulls as modern humans. And if your ancestors are from outside of Africa, there's a good chance you'll be able to identify one or many of the specific traits Neanderthal skulls had on your own today. But what are these distinct Neanderthal characteristics we could spot on ourselves right now? Elongated skull shape. Neanderthals had a much longer, less globular skull than Homo sapiens, and populations living outside of Africa today tend to show this longer lower brain case that you may have. This doesn't mean their brains were smaller than modern human skulls. In fact, this elongated shape created a larger case for their brains, which you may have inherited today. A simple way to think about it is your head shaped more like an orange, or is it more aerodynamic like a tortoise shell? Take a picture of your head showing your complete side profile and compare it to the examples shown here. An important factor to remember is the difference between men and women when it comes to skull shape and facial features. The effects of testosterone and growth hormone on the face can often actually show up in a similar way to what Neanderthal skulls look like. So we'll be pointing out some of these differences today. Heavy brow ridge. Are your eyes sheltered under a bony roof projecting outwards from your head? This is a distinct feature of Neanderthal skulls, and as we interbred with them, it was passed on to us. A factor to consider is that women tend to have less prominent brow ridges than men, so this should also be taken into account when measuring. Deep-set eyes can often be as a result of prominent brow ridges. So if you have deep-set eyes as a woman, this could indicate a prominent brow ridge. From a side view of your face, look at this region and see how much it protrudes from the face. Two measurements can be taken. Draw a vertical line from the front of the eye, and now draw another vertical line from the brow ridge. You can use these measurements to see what range you sit in. Another is to measure how much the brow extends forwards when compared to the angle of the forehead. If it's a considerable amount, you may be a modern reincarnation of a Neanderthal. Weak chin. Neanderthals, and in fact almost all human species other than Homo sapiens, lacked a chin as we know it. Their faces tended to slope backward below their mouths. This is in contrast to what we see in Homo sapiens through the ages, where the face continues downwards in a straight line from the mouth, or sometimes even juts forward. Looking at a picture of your side profile, you can draw a line straight down from the mouth and see in particular how Neanderthal your jaw is by how much it deviates backwards. Use these measurements to see which range you fall in. Large prominent nose. Looking at a Neanderthal skull from the front, you may notice this massive gaping hole in the center. This hole is the airway in which the nose is situated. And it seems that Neanderthals were turbocharged considering the amount of air they would be able to breathe in times of need. If your nose is not only protruding outward quite a bit, but also wide at the same time, you may have your Neanderthal ancestors to thank, or blame, depending how you look at it. Sloping forehead. One of the most noticeable features of a Neanderthal skull is its sloping forehead, which instead of going straight upward from the eye, recedes backward, adding to that aerodynamic look we spoke of earlier. As far as human species go, we as Homo sapiens are quite unique in this regard, with our flat, vertical foreheads, where almost all other human species that were closely related to us, such as the Denisovans, had sloping foreheads. A side profile picture where you draw a line upward will be able to show just how much your forehead slopes backwards, and basically how Neanderthal your forehead is. Occipital bun. Neanderthals had a curious feature at the back of their skulls. Their skulls ended in a knob-shaped bone. The occipital bun's purpose is twofold. It acts as a counterweight for a front-heavy face, which Neanderthals clearly had, with their forward-projecting mid-face. It also acted as an anchor point for powerful neck muscles. This is no surprise. Neanderthals were highly muscular, tough, and hand-to-hand fighters or hunters who needed every bit of strength that they could get. Feel the back of your head and see if your skull slopes down and ends in a point or a knob shape. The more pronounced it is, the more likely your skull is largely being determined by your Neanderthal genes. So how many did you get out of 6? If you got all 6, you may be an evolutionary throwback to an ancestor that lived long, long ago, whose species has died out, but at the same time lives on through you today. But if Neanderthal DNA could change our skull's shape, could it possibly change what is inside of that skull? Click on this video over here if you would like to see how Neanderthal DNA affects our brain. And if you're interested in prehistoric history relating to other human species and how they affect our DNA today, consider subscribing to my channel, where I regularly upload videos about these topics, and I try to help people learn more about them. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you sometime soon.